Show and Tell Signature.
Welcome back to Show and Tell Signature. This is just some of my favorite people talking about some of their favorite decks. Today I am again joined by my good friend Kevin Cole, creator of Space Kings. I will always mention that game because that game is wonderful. Talking about his Magda. Yeah, there it is, the book, the holy text. His Magda Brazen Outlaw Commander deck. Kevin, thank you so much for sitting down with me again.
Thanks for having me on again, Drew. This is going to be fun.
To be very cool. So, Magda is just a 1 and a red for a 2/1, a legendary creature, dwarf berserker. It's a cool type line. Other dwarves you control get +1/+0. When a dwarf you control becomes tapped, create a treasure token. Then you can sacrifice 5 treasures, search your library for an artifact or dragon card, put that card onto your battlefield, then shuffle your library. So, if you don't know Kevin, this is probably one of the most flavorful decks he could ever run. He's a big dwarf guy, big Dwarfo fan.
Yep.
So super excited to kind of talk dwarves with him. And this is just kind of, we're just talking a really fun, flavorful deck. Moxfield has it as a bracket 2 core. No game changers, no mash land denial. Some land destruction here I noticed. Nothing too crazy, but you know what? I think targeted land destruction in Commander is probably needed, you know?
Well, yes. So this deck is very, very red. This is a mono red, and it really wants people to stay in that early game, like the turn 2, 3 area, because hopefully if everything goes right, you're going to combo out on turn 3 or 4, unless people are constantly diffusing the bomb. And I find it's helpful to like talk people through this deck as you're playing it. Because I basically built it to go up against a proxied CEDH deck, and I wanted all my cards to be authentic. So it's a pile of like kind of janky dwarves from all throughout Magic's history, different planes, different universes beyond. Like it is all dwarves together to try and combo out as fast as possible.
There you go. All right, well, so why don't you take us through it? What is like the basic plan of this turn 3 or 4 combo machination you have?
Okay, so you're going to need 3 cards to get the combo going. The first is your commander, Magda. Magda says whenever a dwarf becomes tapped, you make a treasure token. Then you can sacrifice 5 treasure tokens, find an artifact or a dragon from your library, put into play. Now, the thing you're probably going to be searching for is Clock of Omens, and you only have 1 of these, and it better be the original art, because it's just like way cooler than the Innistrad art. I'm sorry, but like this art just like rips. It's so cool. So yeah, the 5th Dawn Clock of Omens is what you want. And then the other thing you need is an artifact dwarf to get the combo going. So that can be an artifact with Changeling. It can be a dwarf that's been hit with a liquimetal coating. It can be Magda herself if you manage to make her into an artifact. And there are a couple like really weird ways to make things into artifacts. There are a bunch of really weird artifact creatures that can be dwarves in the deck. But once you have those 3 things, what you do is you tap Clock of Omens and your artifact dwarf, and you target your artifact dwarf. That'll make a treasure, and your target for Clock of Omens is going to be your artifact dwarf. That'll untap your artifact dwarf, and now you have an untapped treasure. You tap the new treasure, target the artifact dwarf again, you get a new treasure, dwarf untapped. So now you have you have a very, very large number of tapped treasures, which Magda will still take and process to grab artifacts from your deck. So after that, you can kind of combo out any way you want. You're probably going to want to get something like Roaming Throne to double up on your artifacts. That's also a really good artifact dwarf in there. You're probably going to want to get little thing called Maskwood Nexus. Maskwood Nexus is going to make all of your creatures into dragons. So now, in addition to dumping out all of the artifacts in your library, you're dumping out all the creatures as well, and you can get like really resilient combos going from that. The initiating the combo itself is really easy. Magda makes treasures, so if she's targeted, you can just recast Magda with the treasures she's already made.
Yeah.
You can you can stack your deck with dwarves. And the first thing you're probably going to want to find is that Clock of Omens. So basically the game is warning everyone at the table, hey, we're at threat level orange because I have 3 treasures right now. Like, you kind of want to give your players, in order to have a good game, unless you're really trying to spite kill the overly competitive person at the table, which was this deck's original purpose, was spite. And also I love dwarves, and getting to see all these dwarves and just kind of play solitaire, build the combo on my own in my free time has been great. But you have some, you're basically trying to build the combo, and in between you have some panic buttons that you can hit if things start to go not your way. Smoke Bomb from the Assassin's Creed set is going to get you out of trouble. Portal to Phyrexia is going to get you out of trouble and onto a more grindy win plan. Possessed Portal is going to just lock the game down entirely. And that'll keep you in those early stages. But it's very scary how fast you can go from, a 1-mana dwarf to Magda to, okay, now the combo's ready.
Yeah. So before we get too into the nitty gritty, just want to kind of touch on, you mentioned, your inspiration for this deck. Again, know you're a big dwarf guy.
Yes.
So was this, had you built a big dwarf deck before? Or was this kind of your first, I'm going to put all my, make something a little more, what was the idea behind when you first kind of put this deck together, I guess?
I tried building Boros dwarves 100 times. Actually, you're the reason why this deck exists, because I believe this is the Magda you gave me.
Oh,
so this
okay.
is actually your fault. This is all because of you.
Right.
You gave me a bunch of awesome foil dwarves as just a care package one time, and I was like, I gotta do something. And I tried building Brunor Battlehammer.
Mm-hmm.
I tried building the Boros vehicle dwarf deck,
Yeah.
and every time I would go to optimize it, I was like, well, what can I take out? And it's well, I could take out the dwarves, and it's that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Brunor is a really fun commander, and he's been a little outshined with all the great equipment commanders that exist.
Yeah.
But he's still a cool dwarf. So basically the inspiration was, I want to play a deck where dwarves matter. Yeah. And this is a combo that specifically relies on dwarves that matter, and it relies on the goofy 1-mana dwarves from Magic history to fire off. And I love those guys. They're weird and they're cheap, and cheap in 2 ways. Nothing in this deck, this is a total play what you have deck. The stuff I bought was a 15-cent dwarf from Homelands or whatever. It's really, really fun how this is just a pile of garbage that manages to combo out really fast.
Yeah. Super, I guess, again, super fun deck, super flavorful. And I think this deck is kind of one of those testaments to where you could employ a quote-unquote weaker strategy, not strategy, but maybe, Kindred or something. Dwarf I don't think is, they're not elves, they're not whatever. But you can build these in a way where they work together so well. You can have a fairly powerful strategy, even without, again, no game changers, no mono red. Mono red in a multiplayer format almost seems like a death wish in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a super cool way to kind of approach deck building. So let's jump into just some of the stuff in here. So first thing I noted, only it's about 31 lands, which I think given just
very
the
low.
overall, very low. But it's a pretty low to the ground. Your commander's only 2 mana to begin with. They're most dwarves traditionally aren't a very high cost. Plus, kind of the whole thing is to make a bunch of treasures, right? So you're going to have access to mana, which is cool. One quick thing I wanted to say: I love that your mana base is literally 23 mountains. there's just something so elegant about like it's just a bunch of mountains. You know what I mean? This is a dwarf deck. They want mountains, and actually it's 23, and then 2 snow-covered mountains even according to my list I have. So
because like I had them.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? But like I feel like sometimes like you build a commander deck. It's like okay, well like maybe I have like 10 basics or 12 basics or 5 of this ones, and all these utilities. But like man, it's just a lot of mountains, which I think if you're building a dwarf deck, it feels right. You know what I mean? Like it feels like that's what you want.
I mean, the dream aesthetically is to have all 7th edition white bordered mountains. Like that would be like, if I won $50 in the lottery or something, I'd be like, I know what I'm getting.
Yeah.
It's just like, I can't explain it. These are like the first lands I ever saw. So like the dream one day is just fill the deck up with either these or like the Odyssey mountains are gorgeous. Yeah. Like I love the old school mountains. There's a Rob Alexander mountain from 7th edition. And like the other lands are like, some of them are like, Cavern of Souls, pretty CEDHE.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of not very surprising. But then you have stuff like Survivor's Encampment and Holdout Settlement.
Yeah.
That want you to tap a creature.
Yeah, I saw those two, and I'm like, talk about like taking, again, that's like one of my favorite parts of like deck building is you find a card that is probably like not very optimized in general, but for this deck, this is exactly what you want. This gets you, you can tap your commander, get a treasure without having to throw at someone, and it's like, oh, this is like a perfect card for this deck, and it's just like, who else is going to play, outside, the Survivor's Encampment has the desert has the subtype, right? So maybe a desert deck. Really.
Oh, yeah.
But like, for the most part though, like, I don't want to like have to tap a creature it's like a worse mana dork, but like, no, for you, it's like, it basically doubles your mana, right? It's like almost like a 2-for-1 in a lot of instances.
Yeah, so like this idea of safe tapping your dwarves also works into like some of the vehicles I have in there. Like I'm playing Hoverbike in there, and Hoverbike is just there because it can target one of my dwarves, so I can leave it up if like, everybody's got a blocker, and then it flashes in, and suddenly I can, tap my dwarf for free and get a surprise treasure, and we go from threat level orange to threat level red-orange. Like, it's like that one treasure, like that one sneaky tap just makes a lot of difference. And like Clown Car is in here because it's a 0 mana artifact, and it's hysterical. Like Clown Car like is like in the wake of universes beyond, Clown Car feels kind of punk. Like it just feels
no, it does. And also
weird.
So it's funny, I totally overlooked this because I shouldn't, because I used to play Magda a lot on Brawl. It's when any dwarf that comes tapped, you get a treasure token. So for some reason I thought it was just Magda. So any dwarf. And then the vehicle, because I was looking at all the vehicles, I was like, gosh, he's playing a lot of vehicles. But because I forgot about just crewing. That's another way. But I saw Clown Car. Hilarious, right? Yeah.
Hilarious. Perfect.
Hilarious. Roll some dice. But also to your point, as a 0 mana 1/1, you don't have, like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like any 0 mana stuff like tends to be useful, right? Like this is, in theory, you could almost. That's turn 1 play, have a vehicle ready to go for your dwarves, like that, and that's the kind of stuff that like makes these sort of decks work, right? It's these weird random cards. Like, who would think Clown Car and a dwarf treasures deck, right? But like, no, it makes so much sense, and if this is like later, and what's really funny, it really can live up to its name, because if it's like the end of the game and you have a bunch of treasures and nothing to do, you can be like, I'm gonna roll 20 die and see how big this thing can get, right? Like, why not?
Yeah, like like if you want a style, if like your table hasn't all walked away by the time your combo is set up, like you could just make 9,000 mana and roll 9,000 dice for Clown Car.
Yeah, like why not? Who knows? Like why not? So that's funny. And I had to laugh when I was reading about this deck too, because you mentioned making artifact dwarves, and I'm like, are there like artifact dwarf like creatures? And it's like, oh no, it's a lot of the, like you mentioned, like the changelings. You had put, I think you called it Universal Automaton. Obviously, you also had mentioned the Maskwood Nexus makes everything an artifact. Liquid Metal Torque. Another newer card, which I thought was kind of cool, was Lifecraft Engine from Aether Drift.
Yeah.
again, Aether Drift. I keep talking to people. Cards from Aether Drifts kind of just keep popping up in decks. It's one of those things where you kind of there's some stuff in there that I think it's pretty might be overlooked. But yeah, you could make a vehicle a dwarf. Just like what a just like what an odd kind of thing. But again, slots look perfectly for what you're trying to do here. And again, 49 cents. Like that's can't beat that when you're deck building, right?
Yeah, like a lot of Aether Drift stuff like has gone very much down in price since Final Fantasy dropped, and like there are just like some like pretty good stuff if you like vehicles. Because I love vehicles, so I have a Shorkai deck as well, and that had a bunch of like cool stuff for my Shorkai deck. Like I didn't actually buy packs; I just kind of looked through the deck list and bought all the singles I want. So like Aether Drift kind of gets crap for a reason, but Lifecraft Engine is the only dwarf printed in Aether Drift. So, like, from a plane that, like, brought dwarves back to Magic, I kind of thought we'd get, like, a couple. But it's always kind of hit or miss whether dwarves appear in a Magic set, which I get it. Like, we're niche. Like, sometimes we're too cool to show up, which is kind of why I'm looking forward to, the Hobbit set coming out, because I know there's going to be dwarves in that.
Yes. Yeah. I keep, it's funny too. I keep forgetting of the Hobbit. I feel like it's been kind of overshadowed by like the Marvel stuff, and
the Marvel stuff just dropped. So
So, okay. One card I wanted to point out because I have Ashnod's Transmogrant. It's a 1-man artifact.
Yes.
Tap, sack.
This guy right here, yeah.
So this is one of those cards I've had one of those in my bulk for since I started playing, and so every time I go through my cards looking for stuff, I see Ashnod in the photo, and I always think it's an Ashnod's altar, and then I go, oh no, this is something totally else, so totally different. So I'm always a little bummed, but seeing it in here, I'm like, oh, this is like perfect because it just makes here's a way to make a dwarf again for 1 mana. You can do it on the same turn, just cost anything +1/+1 counter. Non-artifact creature becomes an artifact creature permanently. So you're bumping up the power for crewing. A lot of stuff is crew 1, crew 2. But then now it's an artifact for your other purposes. Like, oh, that's like I've never seen this card played anywhere in a deck. Like, oh, here it is. Like, this is like a perfect slot in for what you're trying to do here.
Yeah, a lot of this was found like using like Scryfall search techniques, like just looking for ways to make things into artifacts. And Ashnod's Transmogrant showed up. And it's perfect for this deck because it's got that. Mine has like the white border, and like it's like weird and goofy, and like I don't know, like just something about like that old artifact frame just really speaks to me. And speaking of going through bulk for this, Morph kind of plays a part in the mind games of this deck.
You know what? I did see a decent amount of Morph cards too. I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's just because sometimes you find a card that makes it like there's a few. Yeah, there is some Morph stuff in here.
Yeah, so Produce Machine, like one of the first like stumper puzzle piece cards I think I ever got, like, way back in the day. Like, this is a Scourge card. Scourge was one of my first sets. And like I just remember loving the art and thinking this was so cool, but like when it came time to actually play it, I was like, I don't really know what to do with this, because like if I'm doing, because I didn't know about like limited formats or anything like that, and this is just like a limited filler card in Scourge. So like it's been in my bulk forever, and then like when the time came for Artifact Dwarves to shine, I was like, oh, it's Proteus Machine, it's time. Like, and there is an Onslaught card, and I think Onslaught, like 7th edition was like my first set, and then Onslaught was probably my second. But like we've got Dwarven Blast Miner from Onslaught, and that's also a Morph card. So you can have like one of these face down, and then your play group has to guess, is that the Proteus Machine, which I need to kill on site because it's part of the combo, or is that just another random dwarf? Like, and then this guy still goes into tap to make treasures as a 2-mana dwarf, which isn't as good as a 1-mana dwarf, twice as expensive as a 1-mana dwarf, but still very good.
This is true.
Yeah. So there's a lot of mind gamey stuff, and Ashnod's Transmogrant fits into that too, where like you can kind of hold it up in hand being like, okay, so the table doesn't know that I have the artifact dwarf piece of my combo, but I know that I have it, and then that slams down, and you can start the the dwarf clock combo.
And again, like a lot of dwarves with tap abilities are really good for this kind of deck. I also really liked Vault Robber. It's a 1 in a red
Yeah.
for 1/3, 1 in a tap. Exile a creature card from your graveyard. Create a treasure token. So like if you've kind of someone maybe wiped the board, or if you've lost some creatures because they know don't let Kevin get going with his tabbing, you can basically reuse those creatures to make treasures while making more treasures with the Vault Robber. It's just this redundancy that I think is super cool.
You might even want to like sack your own dwarf somehow, or explicitly like run into like a combat scenario where you're going to get blocked. You make a treasure from tapping to attack, and then you get your bonus treasure from the Vault Robber. There are a lot of sneaky ways to make treasures, and again, like treasures are also how you rebuild. So they're going to target Magda first, as well they should, but you can get around that pretty easily by recasting her with your treasures, and you can't be too greedy. Like you got to be like, well, I have most of the combo, and I can figure something out for next turn. Maybe I'll draw like the artifact dwarf I need to like get it going. Sometimes you just need to save with like a smoke bomb or something, or a meteor golem needs to come down and take out like a problem. And like sometimes you can hard pay for them because you've got all these treasures, and maybe you only have like 3 lands, but your mana base is like kind of stacked. Like the trick is like mitigating threats in the early game, because this turns like the lazy like setting up period of like your typical commander game into like so lazily set up, but there is a bomb that will go off and kill everyone if we don't defuse it. So you gotta have one control player there. And like I teach a lot of people to play Magic, and I play with a lot of people I've taught, and like I'm like, you gotta play removal. Like you can't just assume your deck is gonna do better than everyone. Like you gotta make them play worse.
Yeah, interaction is important.
For sure.
I think it's really kind of the whole point of the game. Sometimes I know sometimes I don't know if that's controversial to say, but play interaction.
Yes, play interaction.
Yeah. Another fun card I was looking at that I thought was just kind of cool is Bottle Cap Blast.
Yes, Bottle Cap Blast is like a great, like they think you're done, and then you can reset. You can invest your own treasures into the Bottle Cap Blast and get them back.
Yeah. And even because you could, so 4 in a red, instant improvise. You can tap artifacts to pay for colors mana, and then deals 5 damage to any target. If excess is dealt damage, put this way, create that many tap treasure tokens. So if you're already making a bunch of treasure tokens, you can essentially, probably cast this for 1. If you hit pop like a mana dirk or something for 1, basically almost kind of double up on just grab 4 treasures out of nowhere. Like 1 mana for 4 mana is like pretty impressive. And 5 damage gets around a lot of toughness these days on most creatures. Yeah. Like that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, and suddenly like your enemies are punished for trying to play fast in the early game, like you're playing fast in the early game. Yeah. So yeah, Bottle Cap Blast is just like, it's pretty wild. Season of the Bold can also just get you your 5 treasure tokens just outright. You can just put all those paw prints into making tapped treasure tokens, and Magda does not care if the tokens are tapped. Like she will melt down treasure tokens into combo pieces. Like she does not mind.
Yeah. And then just one other card I really wanted to kind of point out that I saw, mostly because I hear Rachel Weeks talking about it all the time on the Command Cast Command Zone podcast, is Noble's Purse. That one's really fun. Yeah, 2 mana artifact. It enters the battle. Enters the battlefield tapped with 3 coin counters. It's just tap, remove a coin counter, create a treasure token. Yep. So again, just a 2 mana kind of mana source. You're getting your treasures, but it's something you can use in conjunction with Clock of Omens to tap to tap other things, which kind of has some functionality after it's the coin counters are gone from it, which is always kind of cool. Is there a way to make that a door? Is that let's see.
I kind of I pursued alternate ideas. Like there were ways to make artifact creatures into dwarves, but honestly, Maskwood Nexus just solves that problem handily. There's no real reason to go around the route to make a real artifact. But one of the things you will like stumble on, if like one of like you can like kind of trip yourself up if you have your artifact dwarf tapped by the time you get your clock out. So it helps to have other artifacts up just to prime the engine to get that initial untap on your artifact dwarf up. Because if your Clock of Omens comes down and you only have your only artifact is your tapped artifact dwarf, probably tapped to get you that 5th treasure so that you can get the clock, suddenly you're kind of in a little bit of a problem where you don't have 2 artifacts to tap yet. So by having cheap artifacts like Noble's Purse, even Ashnod's Transmogrant, like that can prime the engine even if you already have like an artifact dwarf out there. Like the reason why this deck is a monster is because the combo is just so resilient. Like it's really easy to get it back up. You're not like searching. Like, your commander is a tutor and a mana source at the same time.
Yeah,
like,
no, definitely. That's too funny.
It's nuts, yeah.
All right, let's move over. I could speak. Let's move over to the one.
The one.
The one.
All right, so this one is interesting because I actually before when I was reading about your deck before when I was doing my notes, I'd plucked this out before I realized you had picked this for the one. So obviously we both must have good taste when it comes to this sort of thing. So for your one, you have chosen from Odyssey Dwarven Grunt, just a 1 mana 1/1 Mountain Walk, gorgeous art. Like I think the art alone, I was just like, oh my gosh. I was almost even surprised it was. So later, I guess for me, for Odyssey, it felt like a almost like a Homelands era kind of feel. But so I mean, for you, like, why would you consider this like the one of this deck?
I mean, Mountain Goat is another like just kind of legendary card in my head. But it kind of has the exact same like setup as Dwarven Grunt, where it's a 1 mana single creature type 1/1 creature with Mountain Walk. Dwarven Grunt, I mean, in the context of this deck, it is a 1 mana dwarf with an evasive ability, which means it can tap in and just like get in for free treasures for you. There are so many like amazing early game dwarves in the set, but there's something about just like the like character design and like the the bone axe and the big hands and like the very like pre World of Warcraft Warhammer like dwarven beard going on. Like I think we see this character design elsewhere where like there's just like culture in this card. You can see like kind of how these dwarves live. They're not covered in like metal like you'd expect like the typical fantasy dwarves. These ones like work with bone and they have kind of a more like caveman or barbarian kind of vibe. This one's got like a knife in his belt. Like it's just such a complete vision of like this is the typical dwarf. This is the Dwarven Grunt.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it lives up to his name, right? Dwarven, it's a grunt, right? It's a grunt. And like Mountain Walk is not. That's the land walk abilities are pretty powerful. Just someone's got a mountain like these days, like red. I don't think a lot of the 5 colors in Commander, red might be considered the weakest these days, but people will like to couple red with as a secondary or third tertiary color for like deck building. I think people like to play red. So, not hard to find someone with a mountain out there, and it just takes one, right? Just unblockable built in because your opponent has played just a land. So, just like a gorgeous card, fits the theme, the flavor just like perfectly. And it has some utility, It's just like a cool. It's one of those cards like you have it in your opening hand. You're like, hell yeah, like Dwarven Grunt. Like you're happy to see that in your hand,
Yeah, man, he's my guy. Like I love this dude, and like I think what I love about this deck so much is that when I play this card, the other 3 people at the table have to be like, okay, we have to get this thing off of the table. Like like Dwarven Grunt is gonna run away with this.
Yeah.
So like, does anyone have a lightning bolt for the Dwarven Grunt? Are we gonna path to exile the Dwarven Grunt? Like, what do we do about the Dwarven Grunt? And like, if you're playing a deck where like that's a question, like that is more than I could have ever asked for a dwarf deck. Like where these little weird creatures matter. And like, I do want to just like briefly blow through some of Dwarven Grunt's like brothers and sisters. Like I love the art for Dwarven Trader as well.
Yeah.
Like just such a cool like frame within a frame. I think Margaret Organ Keene did a couple card arts like this, and she has like this like cool like border tile effect on her cards that you just don't like really see anywhere else. It like it just like it feels like an old Magic card, not like a new Magic card. Dwarven Scorcher is one of those cards I talked about last time we got a box from a buddy of mine that he played Magic with his mom, and like this was I subbed out the old water damaged one that he gave me for this one, but I was like, oh man, this is like another piece of the puzzle. Spark Mage is like a little stinker, a little nuisance, like has to be dealt with because he'll run behind your line and ping your mana dork and kill it. Like that's disrespectful, and I love it. Dwarven Armorer is like a reserved list card you can own because it's Fallen Empires, and like the art on like this print quality is just so like I don't know, like there's just something to this card that feels like out of time, and the flavor text is cool, the old tap symbol is cool, like all the stuff that used to bother me as a kid, like white borders and like weird tap symbols and stuff like that, just like now. It lights my world on fire. I don't know, maybe it just reminds me of a time where I didn't have to pay bills, but like I think like Bloodfire Dwarf, the smallest board wipe ever to exist. Like Bloodfire Dwarf has one of my favorite flavor texts of any Magic card, which is, for them, the only honorable death is one that leaves a crater. And I'm like, yeah, man, that's dwarves.
That is dwarves. That is too funny. It's funny you highlight the Dwarven Armorer. I'm pretty sure the most recent Ristic Studies video kind of touches on Fallen Empire.
Yeah.
And he kind of
and he highlights it.
Yeah. So there is some nostalgia, there is some beauty in the way those old kind of complicated cards were kind of designed, because you can see the flavor win in terms of like what they were doing with the card itself. So but,
the +0/+1 counter and the +1/+0 counter. Like it's weird, and like we know how to simplify now, but like I think this speaks to like the old texture of Magic the Gathering. Like there's still stuff to learn from these old cards, which is like maybe like the straightest line is not the best route. Like maybe there's more fun to be had in suboptimal cards somehow. And it's great when, Magda makes suboptimal cards optimal. Like that's the best part of Commander, is playing what you have, playing what you love, like going into your box of bulk and finding something to do. I wouldn't say this deck, this Magda deck, is beloved in my friend group. Like combo decks are kind of eye rolled in my very like combat heavy red zone play group. But I really like conceptually what this deck does. I think there are ways to maybe like bring it down. You can just take the Clock of Omens out and play a very fun like game of Magic the Gathering anyway. Like you can, build up that, keep all of your like red 1 mana red dwarves in there, and like build up the old fashioned way to like big dragons and stuff like that. I think that's still possible. And like I think there's also a way to push it even harder towards CEDH. Like, I don't have Zorn in there because Zorn is like, it's money. Like, it's cash. And again, if I had cash to put into this deck, I would get dumb, like, white border mountains for it.
Yes.
So, like, I think I think that like this deck is kind of in a middle point where it was built specifically, one, because I love dwarves and I wanted just an aesthetic pile of cards to look at and play through the combo in solitaire when I get stressed out or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was also built to just stand up to a proxy deck, and I don't think proxy decks are bad, and I don't think proxying should be vilified in any way. In fact, I think it's actually really great for a format where people should play the game.
Yeah.
But the fact that I could do this with official cards felt, I don't know, it just felt like I made a point. Like it felt right.
Yeah. No, I hear you. There's definitely something when you have a deck and it's, all the cards you've had or owned, or again, there's nothing wrong with proxying, but I will agree that sometimes it's like, it's all cards from my collection. There's a different kind of vibe that kind of goes along with it. So. Yeah,
I think ideally, not to get all Magic the Gathering communist on your channel, but like, I think cards should be cheap. I think I think game pieces should be readily available for people to play the game. And I know a lot of people make their living off of selling cards, and the card market is tremendously important to them. I know a lot of local businesses make their money off of selling cards, and the card market is incredibly important to them. But, if we look at other things I like and other stuff I've said, I don't think it'll come as a surprise to anyone if I'm like, maybe Magic the Gathering removed from capitalism would be like more fun.
I don't think you're wrong. I do not think you're wrong.
Yeah.
Anyways, Kevin, thank you so much for sitting down. I'm glad we got to talk dwarves. Like, had I
Me too, man. Thank you so
thought
much.
about it, I should have been like, Kevin's got to have a dwarf deck I got to talk about. But this list will be up on the Show and Tell Signature Moxfield guest deck list site. I'll link that below. I'm not sponsored by Moxfield, but just a big fan of them. I know you use Architect as well, another great resource for building decks and finding decks available. So, we're open just for all that kind of good stuff. Again, Kevin, thank you for sitting down with me. And if you're watching along, feel free to like and subscribe. And you have any other deck people out there, I'm sure I'll have Kevin on again because he's got a bunch of decks. And we like talking Magic here. So, Kevin, thanks, and we'll catch you all next time.
Thanks so much, Drew. Thanks, everybody.